Hello, I'm Peter Towers, Managing Director of Towers Business Development. Thank you for joining us for this webinar. For those of you who are watching the webinar live, if you have any questions, can you please go on to chat and enter your question? And for those of you who are watching this webinar at a more convenient time, can you go on to your computer at some stage and send me an email on any questions or comments that you wish to make. The subject of today's webinar, developing winning business plans. So let's get started. Business planning, why now? It's the month of June. We've got a new financial year, less than 25 days away, 2021-22. What sort of challenges is it going to bring? Business plans are important for all types of businesses, charities and sporting clubs, churches, all sorts of organizations develop business plans or what might be called strategic plans. And what you're really aiming to achieve is to commit the strategies for the business or the organization to writing as part of the commitment to implement. You know, we can all sit around for hours and days in the development of a business plan, and we write it down and we produce a very nice looking document. But unless there is a commitment to implement, it's really all been a waste of time. So we need to have a commitment to implement when preparing a business plan. So where do you start? You're running a business, might be a sole trader or a partnership, a trust or a company, or a sporting organization. Where do you start? Now, I think the first thing you need to decide on in the preparation of a business plan is who is going to coordinate the project. Is it going to be someone within your organization who has got the time and the experience to be able to document the processes, coordinate it with everyone, get input, produce a document? Or are you going to appoint someone external who will act as the facilitator for the preparation of the business plan? And if so, who? You could contact other organizations, including ours at Towers Business Development, to prepare a proposal and a quotation. And we're quite happy to do that for businesses and organizations, sporting organizations and other types of organizations, wherever you're situated. So what are the key inputs that you need from external persons? Because this might be more than the facilitator. There might be a desirability to have a marketing strategy prepared. So you might need a marketing consultant for part of the process. There could be some legal issues to get with relating to capital raising or other issues that you need a legal opinion. There could be some engineering type matters. There may be a major expansion underway and you need an engineering perspective included in the business plan. Or there could be some accounting data that needs to be explained, because budgets and cash flow forecasts are normally prepared as part of the business planning process. So there needs to be some consideration given as to whether, besides the appointment of the key facilitator, there is going to be a need for some other consultants to be appointed. And who will appoint those? Will it be the facilitator you've appointed on your behalf, or will the company or organization be appointing any additional people to undertake these additional assignments? And then we get round to what I think is where the rubber starts to hit the road. We're starting to get somewhere. We should start with a team leadership think tank meeting. Bring the leadership team together. Cancel all appointments for a day, and perhaps in some cases 2 days, so that there can be total concentration on the business or the organization. The facilitator would normally coordinate this. The organization or company CEO obviously would be part of this process. But in most instances where I've worked with people in the development of a business plan, the CEO is just sat at the table like any other leadership team member. Maybe said a few words at the beginning, but basically left it to the facilitator to run the process. So the facilitator would coordinate it. So one of the key questions to think about is going to be, where's the funding for the business coming from? Is it likely there's going to be shortfalls? So the cash flow projections should be looked at. And where will the funding come from that the business needs? Is part of this process getting ready to gear up to be able to try to raise capital? And if so, what type of capital? Is it going to be crowdsourced funding, equity raising, where the company can raise up to $5 million in 12 months? But we have to work through a crowdsourced funding intermediary, which is an organisation that has been licensed by the Australian Security Investment Commission to undertake this capital raising assistance role for businesses. First of all, we better check the company's eligibility. The turnover must be under 25 million. That's group turnover worldwide. And the gross value of assets group worldwide has to also be under $25 million. And the company cannot be a listed public company. The think tank meeting should review the key issues relative to the business. And I've listed some of them here. What's the vision? What's everyone getting out of bed bright and early every morning, eager to do something? Enthusiastic. Churning of anticipation in their stomachs, wanting to create something. Or is there no vision? Is it a hopeless situation? What is it? Hopefully it's a team brimming with enthusiasm. Who are the customers? Are the customers happy? Has there been contact with the customers as we start to escape COVID-19 to see what they anticipate is going to occur in 21, 22, because we are developing the plan for the next 12 months. And very importantly, what about the suppliers? Where are the suppliers? Are they Australian based or are they in overseas countries? And if so, how secure are the supply chains? Because we've all seen some problems that have occurred in the last 15 months with some supply chains. And there's obviously supply problems at present. Ask anyone that's trying to buy a brand new car at present. And you hear the horror stories that it might be here by January. I think they mean next year. It could be longer, the way some of them are carrying on. And what about the leadership team? This initial think tank meetings with the leadership team, what development do they need? What professional training? And is there an ongoing review of succession? Succession is not just something that occurs at the CEO or managing director level in an organization. It applies in every level in the business. Is someone being trained to take someone else's position, or are you actively in the marketplace looking for a specific type of person to fill a specific job in the business organization? And how are you going to document that? What are you looking for? Is the specification being determined? The characteristics of that person identified for them to be able to do that job? And it's very important that the leadership team keeps up to date with their ongoing business development. That they're on top of what's happening in technology, in the legal area, the law, and the use of the technology to produce income for the company. And what about the team? The team's very important. Are they being trained? Are they being motivated? And is succession planning occurring within them? I'm just finishing a construction industry business plan, and it's been identified that they need to develop 2 new foremen in the next 12 months. Now, they're going to try to develop them internally, but at some stage, a decision needs to be made, and it should be documented in the plan as to what time do they allow to try to nurture the people they're targeting to become foremen. And if that doesn't work out, when are they going to start going into the wider business community to try to attract these people? Because the company is going to need it if they're going to handle the income level that they're projecting will occur next year. What about the operations? These need to be reviewed, so they're going to be documented. And what's being documented is the strategies. This is what the think tank meeting's all about. What are we going to do in certain situations? The best time to plan that is in a quiet, methodical, well thought out meeting process, not when there's a crisis raging, so that the strategy can be documented and it's available in the unfortunate event. If that event does eventuate, there's some guidance as to what, in a very calm, sane atmosphere, the leadership team decided this would be the strategy to be implemented if that happened. And the meeting should be deciding what the timetable is for the implementation of these strategies. Is it in the next 3 months, or is it something that's, as long as it's achieved by the end of June 2023, that will be acceptable, or 2022, whatever. One of the other big tasks then is to look at the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats of the business. So what are the strengths of the business? Write them down. Have everyone around the table have their contribution. What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? Where could improvements be made? Is it in a particular branch or particular business activity? Or do the weaknesses cover the whole organization? Document them, because one of the key challenges for the leadership team should be to eliminate those weaknesses. And that should be documented in the plan. And what are the opportunities? What are the business opportunities that this business or organization has in the marketplace for the next financial year, 21-22? And what's got to be done to maximize those opportunities? Are some new licenses needed? Do we need some new premises? Do we need some new plant and equipment, or some new vehicles, or some new staff? And what training needs to be given to those staff? This is all the planning process that needs to be thought through. And what income is expected to then be generated from this revamped activity? And what potential threats does the business have? Now, I can remember discussing with people a few years ago pandemics as a risk area. And some people have said to me, oh, no, we don't have to worry about that. Well, I think after the last 15 months, we're all aware that we need to be very conscious of having a fallback position in the event of another pandemic. And we don't know how much longer COVID-19 is going to linger around the world, do we? In fact, in some countries, it seems to have gone very bad of late. Is this how the world's going to go? I hope not. But what's your strategy if you're a business that's been continually hit with lockdowns? You're in Victoria. What are you going to do about it? I heard some statistics this morning about how many days have been lost through lockdowns in Victoria in the last 12 months. It was a very high figure. 144 days was mentioned. What would you be putting into your business plan if you were in Melbourne? And what about other parts of Australia? There's been lockdowns in Adelaide, Perth, Sydney, Brisbane. And at times when a capital city like Brisbane has a lockdown or some sort of change, it affects the whole of Queensland. Queensland's a huge state, and people in other parts of it get very upset when something's going on in Brisbane 1,000 kilometres away. So what is your business strategy for this if this continues to happen? What support is there from the government or other organisations? Have you listed that? Have you maximised your opportunity to secure whatever government handouts there are? These things should be thought through and documented in the business plan. Competitors. I don't think enough attention's given by most businesses to their competitors when it comes to the development of a business plan. It's very desirable to review your competitors, list them out. Who are they? You might find there's some new names appear in the list from when you last did this exercise. And what you want to do is to clearly identify their strengths. Where are they good? Where are they better than your business? And you can copy, you can mimic what a competitor is doing. You might want to change the name of what you're going to call that process or camouflage it a little bit that you're copying them. But you've only got to look at the major retailers in Australia to realise there's something very close to copying going on at times. Can't you do the same? As long as that competitor has not registered a patent, it's fairly open that you can look at the marketplace and copy ideas. It might be a good idea, though, to subtly change it a little bit. But you can learn from them, especially if they're a big business and they've got branches all over the place. You might get some very good information by keeping a close eye on their strengths. What are their weaknesses? Now, you need to really have these written down because these are your key competing points where you are better than them in various aspects of their business operations. And what opportunities does all this present, do you think, in the marketplace? Are you going to be able to convince the customers out there that you're able to take advantage of these opportunities? Will they trust you? Will they believe you when you tell them you've got 10 people with exceptional experience in a certain area? Or do you need to have made sure in the business plan you've allocated resources for extensive training in some of these opportunities before launching anything on the public so that you're not made to look silly? And what threats do your current competitors or potential competitors offer? Are you keeping an eye on who's likely to come to your city or town or suburb? How would they compete with you as a competitor? So that's the documentation that I'd be suggesting you include in the business planning process on competitors. So now let's look at the key components that needs to be analysed in the development of a business plan. The current financial position obviously needs to be disclosed, because you should be having forward estimates prepared. In other words, a budget that looks at what you expect the turnover to be in the next 12 to 36 months. What's the vision for the business? Is it able to be captured and written down, and are all people signing on to it? Who is the leadership team, and have they signed on to the vision? Are they enthusiastic promoters of it? Can they lead the team in the delivery of these new packages? The team is very important. These are the people going to do the bulk of the physical work. Have they been trained? Have they been motivated? What resources does the business have? Are they all being used, or have we got some idle investment that someone spent $1 million on something a few years ago and it's never really been utilized? Well, if it's a resource you're not using, it might be best to convert it back into cash. But the resources you can use, if you made sure that the team know how to utilize that resource, so they've been trained. Has it been appropriately approved to be used in your business? What services are you going to be receiving? We talked about supply chains a little bit earlier. Are they going to be able to function okay? Can you get whatever products or services that you're contracting for someone else to provide to you? Communications, telephones, emails, websites, mobile phones, and other means of communication. Does the team have regular meetings? Is there a daily huddle, 5 to 10 minutes of the leadership team to review what went wrong yesterday? What was the great win yesterday? Did we create new customers? And did the reserve team beat a major competitor in a tender or a job one? Something to cheer about. Is there a weekly meeting of the team to bring them together within their business units? And at the end of the month, is there a leadership team meeting? A business review meeting to consider all aspects of the business? And is there a general team meeting get-together whereby the CEO presents a State of the Union message? This is where we're at. We've achieved record sales in the previous 3 months or whatever. Succession planning. I've mentioned that to a certain extent. Succession planning is very important in every position. Best to train your people in-house. Board of directors, if you're a company, what's happening with the board of directors? Are internal leadership team members being encouraged to undertake the Australian Institute of Company Director course to familiarise themselves with the responsibilities of directors? Corporate governance. Does the leadership team and even the board of directors and some of the staff need some mentoring on what corporate governance is? Corporate governance is just not for the board of directors. It can apply to anyone and everyone in an organisation. What's happening to the intellectual property that's been developed? Are you satisfied that it's appropriately protected? Are you satisfied that every one of the team that worked on the project has signed assignment of intellectual property agreements, and any other agreements that needed to be produced. Scaling up. This is the terminology that's given where a business is currently sitting on a turnover of, say, $1.5–2 million or higher, and aspires over the next 3 years to increase their turnover to $3 to $5 million. How are they going to do it? It needs to be documented. The key aspects in scaling up are not that different to what we're discussing in the business plan, and they should have a business plan that identifies their pathway to scaling up. But they need a leadership team that's motivated and trained and eager. They need a team that has been trained and understands their duties and responsibilities. They need to have made sure that their strategies have been documented, and that, very importantly, those strategies are going to be implemented, because they're a waste of space otherwise. They need to understand their customers and where their customers are coming from and what they want. And they need to have an idea of where the business is going to be funded. Are they going to try to raise capital as a crowdsourced funding equity raising company or an early stage innovation company? The services that Towers Business Development can offer include business plan preparation. I've been preparing business plans for a long time. In a previous life, I was Chief Financial Officer and Company Secretary of a listed public company. We prepared a lot of business plans that I was the principal author of. And since I've started an accountancy firm and then a consultancy business, I've prepared numerous business plans for all types of businesses, and I have reviewed business plans when I performed the role as a consultant for AusIndustry, one of 12 in Australia, for the COMET program, Commercialising Emerging Technology. Because we were required to assist in getting companies investment ready. And one of the key aspects of an investment ready status is to have a business plan. Another key area that we are involved in is budgets and cash flow forecasts. Predictive accounting is the new emerging term now given for budgets, cash flows, and projected balance sheets. What's it all predicted to be? There are some accountants who are arguing that predictive accounting is far more important than the historical recording of what's going on in the business in the year. Assisting companies to become investment ready. The last one there, Section 708 of the Corporations Act, has been around for 35 years, and it's been very valuable for companies trying to raise capital. But in the last 3.5 years, crowdsourced funding equity raising was finalised by the Australian government and early stage innovation companies. Now, these are rather unique packages that enable private companies to be able to raise capital. And there's some different targets that are obvious when you study this legislation to determine who can get the benefits. We can help you on that. Research and development system establishment. Research and development, I think, is going to be an enormous area in Australia in 2021-22. We can assist you to get started in your business, to get the records established in such a way. We're happy to work in conjunction with your accountant, because your accountant will be including the details of the research and development activities when they lodge the company's taxation return. So we're happy to work with your accountant to get that information, but there's a very important role beforehand, and that is the proper documentation of the research and development process. And today, with the communications and the software, we can offer virtual chief financial officer services, and we do offer those services. If people wish to engage us on a weekly or daily or periodic basis to undertake high-level chief financial officer services. We've got some interesting webinars coming up. This is just the start that I hope that you're going to be able to join us for. Yes, your business can raise capital. Obviously, we're going to talk about crowdsourced funding, equity raising, and Section 708 and early stage innovation companies. And then we have the innovation journey is not a closed shop. I think some people think that it's very hard to get into being able to innovate and then go through some government programs and perhaps raise some capital. It's not. There's a process there. Sure, you've got to have your information prepared. Otherwise, it will be a difficult role. If you've done all that, you should be able to get started. Be introduced to potential crowdsourced funding intermediaries and might be prepared to assist you. Looking at raising a special loan under the Accelerating Commercialisation Grant. Then looking at the potential of raising capital for the company under the Early Stage Innovation Company or crowdsourced funding equity raising company regimes. So the innovation journey is not a closed shop. Webinar is on the 17th of June. Research and development is the start of the innovation journey. That's where it all starts from. And if you've got someone who tells you they're going to spend more than $20,000 in a 12-month period on research activities, and they are serious that they believe that there's a pot of gold at the end of this, they need to have their business incorporated as a company if they have not already done so, because that is the vehicle that can claim the research and development incentive rebate. And having a virtual chief financial officer service could launch your business. That gives you tremendous credibility when you're talking to potential investors to invest in one of the companies that the owners own. So that webinar is on Thursday, 1 July, the start of the new financial year. I couldn't think of a better webinar. How could you use a virtual CFO service? It might only be for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours a week to start with, or it might be it's a full 2 days. It depends. There will be different situations for different types of businesses, of course. You need more information? If you want to find out more about what Towers Business Development does, can you please go to our website, www.towersbusiness.com.au, and have a look at the material. And if that doesn't satisfy you, send me an email, please, peter@towersbusiness.com.au. Or if that doesn't find anyone, you can contact us at peter@towersbusiness.com.au or telephone me on 1-800-232-088. Thank you for joining me in this presentation today. If you're online and you've got any questions, can you please send them through the chat? But if you're watching this as a presentation at another time that suits you a bit better, please contact me, as long as it's not 3 a.m. in the morning, please. And I know some of you, from what I'm told, do watch these sort of presentations pretty early in the morning when you can't sleep. If you've got any questions from those viewings, I'm happy to hear from you a little later in the day, though, if that's okay. Good luck with the development of your business plans for 21-22. Good luck with the development of the vision for your business and the implementation of that vision through the business planning process. Have a great day. Goodbye.